Good morning, I'm Johnson, a student at FranU, and I'm interviewing Mr. Wayne Ricks from the Southeastern Louisiana University Small Business Development Center, and he's giving me pertinent information pertaining to my proposal for a drip bar. Good morning, Mr. Ricks. How are you? I sent you a questionnaire. And when I was reading over the questionnaire and then adding it to my PowerPoints, there were two things that I did not add to the questionnaire, that I found in my research. Because the first question is related to market research. What are the key factors to consider when conducting market research for a new wellness service? And my first thing was, what is the problem? Why am I doing this? So, what would you define as the problem, or why we would need drip or wellness services?
When it comes to business planning, um, every business plan kind of still has the same bones, if you will. Like that foundation is the same, and you're kind of filling it in different places depending on what the need is, depending on who's going to read it, things like that. But specifically with internal business plans, when you're kind of trying to just justify the idea to yourself, the market research piece is really important to help you identify who your customers are, not just looking at the area. A lot of people, when they're looking at an area, when they're looking to start a business, they'll say, look, let's look at this area. So, for instance, I'm going to open a drip bar in Baton Rouge. Well, they already have the idea of a drip bar, and they have the idea of the area. But I would argue that knowing your customer is more important.
Okay.
Right? Finding an area with where that customer is. So I spend a lot of time when it comes to market research asking myself the question, well, who's my target market? You hear that a lot in marketing classes and things. But I don't just stick with one. I like to create what I call a customer profile. I'll say, all right, we've got this type of customer here, we've got this type of customer here. And then you start asking yourself, well, how should we market to them? And then based on that information, where should we locate? Does that make sense? Like,
yes, it does.
Instead of now, there are really two different ways to start a business. Sometimes people in let's say on the South Shore, there's less space. So what we find a lot of times, somebody who's trying to start a business on the South Shore, they just lock down a location. Oh, this space came available, they go and get it. And then they ask themselves, what should this space be? Right?
Right.
Versus North Shore, we've got lots of extra buildings. I have this idea, this is what I want to do. I'm going to find the appropriate space for it.
One of the things that I learned doing my research, that it said that drip bars do well in high foot traffic areas. What do you think about that? Do you find that to be true, or give me some insight on that?
I would imagine that's the case nationally, but national data, you have to be very careful, because is that true for this region? I would argue that, do we have a lot of foot traffic in a lot of places in Baton Rouge? We do have foot traffic, but is it actual true foot traffic? Is it people that are parking in downtown Baton Rouge, and are they parking going to work, or are they parking and walking around? Is it a destination and then they're going? A lot of businesses I've worked with over the years in this region, it's not so much foot traffic. Now, if you get out to the lakefront area, they've got a lot more foot traffic. People are parking, and then they're walking the lakefront. They're stopping to get some ice cream or a drink here or there. But even in our more populated areas, I think there's less foot traffic here. I think we're just a destination-driven people. Now, of course, take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure there's those outliers, but for the most part, when it comes to an IV drip bar specifically, I think that is a destination. Somebody's definitely an appointment.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I mean,
it makes sense to me.
When you're just walking around and you're shopping, or you're sitting there going, man, I need to be hydrated. Put in here, go down for an hour or whatever, however length of time it takes, and get an IV. Or are you calling ahead of time, kind of like getting your haircut? Are you calling it an appointment? Or do you expect to just walk in and be seen?
I guess.
So again, depending on how you're planning on making sales.
Okay.
And that goes to, I'm not saying you can't, but you would change your marketing strategy, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
If you said, I'm making a business choice as a business owner to have a Ivy bar, and I'm making a choice that my targeted customer is walk-ins and drop-ins and foot traffic. Well, I would market that differently than I would market a business, let's say, that call in and make an appointment. Again, when I create my marketing, there's a call to action in your marketing campaign, right?
Yes.
What is my call to action? Is my call to action, call now for an appointment? Or is my call to action, walk in and we'll get you served?
Ooh, that's a big difference.
But you have to make a choice. Because you're paying money for those campaigns. And all those campaigns all reflect your brand that you're building. Is the brand you're building a walk-in? Or is the brand you're building appointment-based? I would argue that type of industry makes more sense that it's appointment-based.
Okay.
But then again, there are big cities. And that's the problem. Goes back to what I said earlier. That's the problem with a lot of national data. It's not a problem. But when you just take, nationally, this is what's happening. Well, they're pooling New York, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles. You could fit all of Louisiana, every single person in Louisiana fits inside those cities.
So you've already answered my second question, the A of the second question. What are the essential components to the business plan? You said that all business plan have a standard format. So I would use those.
I would break it into five areas.
Okay.
The company. That's nice. Just giving the reader an idea of what the company is, what the mission, a little bit about the owner, but like this is the company. This is who we are, right? Then there's the product or service. My second section would be the product or service. What am I selling? How am I generating revenue? What are my, again, for Drip Bar? I'm not pretending to be the expert in Drip Bars, but it's not just one type of IV, right?
Correct.
You can sign up for it. There's different ways to sell it. You could have a subscription-based model. You could have a hop in, or say, hey, buy one, pay one amount up front, and that's going to hold you for 4 sessions. So in that product or service section, you would explain how revenue is generated. It's not just we sell IV drips.
Okay.
This is how we sell those IV drips, and this is the revenue. This is how, if someone buys product A, it's $100. If somebody buys product B, it's $200. We expect 20% of our sales to come from product A, and 80% of our sales to come from product B. So you give the reader an idea very quickly of how you generate revenue. So that's the second section. Third section is where I go from that product, explaining what I do to my market. And yes, in that marketing section, I'm going to talk about the demographics of the area, where we're looking to locate, but I'm going to go into detail on who my customer is. Is age a factor for my customer? Is income level a factor? So for an IV drip bar, you might be saying, we're looking for men and women in the ages of 35 and 55 with an average household income of $75,000 more. Now, of course, if somebody walks in and wants to purchase, we're still selling. But when you're taking money out of your pocket advertising, you need to have who you're advertising in mind. So that's what that section would be, is trying to identify who we're selling to. And then if you've already got a location in mind, you talk about the location, maybe add traffic count, and demographic data to that market section. Moving on from that fourth section is the management, labor, who owns it, how many people do you need, what are you paying them, anything related to the organization and how it's run day to day. And the final section is well, from a narrative portion, is what was actually, it's kind of a catch-all page, but I call it the facility page. That's where we talk about a little bit more about the location, but what are our hours of operation? How do we operate? All the way to, we get into what our monthly expenses are. We start talking about what we budget per month for advertising, budget per month for all these things. This is where we kind of begin that financial portion. We lay out for the reader in this facility page of what it's going to cost to run this building, run this thing. And then the final section would be where you talk your financial projections. But all those financial projections are doing is relating back to what you've already written in those first 5 sections.
Okay. And you've gotten us through questions 2 and 3. So let's go to question 4, where it talks about regulatory requirements. What are specific health regulations and legal requirements for establishing a drip board? I'm assuming it would be Louisiana. My question said Baton Rouge, but I know that we would have to do something health related with DHL. Not exactly what, but I'm sure there's permits since somebody's putting an IV in someone. Could you tell me more about that?
Well, the simple answer is I don't know. I've helped in this space before, but when people come to me, again, I'm helping them on that 10,000 foot view. Like, this is how it's going to work. Let me help you with the business plan. Let me get you to those offices. But when it comes to going to the Department of Health and Hospitals and actually filing the documentation, that's where I back out.
Okay.
That's what the business owners do. So my office doesn't get involved in that. However, yeah, first thing is first, from a regulatory thing, I would say you probably need to make a decision how you want to set up the company. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC, S corporation? To make a decision, a business decision on how you plan on setting up the company. Then you would go into, all right, well, what taxes do I need to make sure I'm dealing with? So you've got your federal income tax. So that'd be the IRS. File that to the IRS. Then you've got your state sales tax, Louisiana Department of Revenue. You're in Baton Rouge. You deal with the city of Baton Rouge on their sales tax. Beyond that, if you're buying these IVs and you need to purchase them wholesale, are you reselling them? Depending on how you're setting up that tax structure, then maybe a resale certificate you need to get.
Okay.
Some businesses would have it, some businesses wouldn't. Once you find your location, you would need what's called occupational license. And you get that from the city of Baton Rouge as well. That's a license that allows you to occupy a business in whatever space you're leasing. And then from a regulatory standpoint, I would imagine that there's some license you're going to have to do to put a needle in someone's arm. So that would all go to the Department of Health and Hospital. Yes.
Okay. What would I'm kind of backtracking a little bit because you brought up some things about the financial portion. What would I include in my business plan or my proposal to make this more attractive to investors or lenders?
So when you write your business plan, you need to always keep in mind that who's going to read it. And it's not uncommon to have multiple business plans depending on who's going to read it.
Yes.
I'm writing a business plan, and I'm thinking it's going to go to a bank. Well, I have a bank in the back of my mind. And I'm writing things in there to show debt service. Banks are very interested in debt service ratios. Just how does this business plan on paying its debt back? So I'm writing things in a way to show that we're thinking about paying on loans.
Right.
Which is a little bit different than if I was working on an investment proposal. I'm looking more for return on investment, ROI. They don't need a lot of investors might not need money back monthly on a monthly basis, but they want to know what they can get back from, like how much can we depreciate? And I use that depreciation to offset some other things that I have in other businesses that I'm dealing with. So I might write things in a way that's a little bit more tax heavy.
Okay.
For investors to read.
Oh, I didn't think of it that way, but that makes sense. Just like you have multiple resumes for multiple jobs, you would have multiple business plans for multiple lenders and investors, and that's awesome. Okay, I'm in the marketing and promotion strategy portion. What are the best marketing strategies for promoting a new wellness service, and how can I effectively reach and engage potential customers in the community? What are the best marketing strategies for promoting a new wellness service, and how can I effectively reach and engage potential customers in the community?
Well, for any kind of wellness service, you're going to have to trust, and you build that trust by being a member of the community first and foremost. So, I mean, I'm very much what I call shoe leather marketing. It's boots on ground. That's where I start almost anything, especially in community-minded businesses. So, I can see joining a chamber of commerce, joining a business networking group, and inserting yourself in the community that way. I can also see partnering with those organizations like a chamber of commerce to give wellness seminars and educate the public on wellness. Not like you're sitting there up front saying, come buy my services. It's, hey, I'm putting on this seminar and to the public say, look, these are some things you need to do in life to be healthy. By the way, I'm in this space. I have this business doing this. I'm an expert in health and wellness. Come see me if you need me, but I'm here to educate you. So a lot of times for stuff like this, small business, instead of spending a lot of money on marketing, I'm using time as capital, right?
Yes.
I'm saying I have so many hours a week. I'm going to spend this many hours on community development and being a member of the community and just doing what I can to help the community. And that usually resonates with a lot of people better than a direct mail campaign for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Okay.
So,
That,
other marketing things, and of course the simple stuff. Have a website, be able to be visible on Google when people are trying to search for you. But the thing is, even if you're visible on Google, you need to figure out if people in your community are even Googling health and wellness. And that's the other piece.
okay. I remember that.
Like, what are they searching for? How are they searching it? What are they looking for? And I mean, and then that's when we get into social media, creating some type of social media push. And these are all very cheap things. You don't spend a lot of money on it, but you will spend a lot of time. So when you start thinking of time as capital, like time as a resource, you start saying, all right, well, I'm going to dedicate this much of that resource to this thing.
Okay. And I'm gonna go to the next question. Operational challenges. What are the common challenges faced by new wellness businesses, and how can I prepare to address them?
Like new wellness business?
Yeah, like my company would be a new wellness business. It's like,
all right, so there's a couple challenges. Two, let's just start with the kind of low hanging fruit. There's a lot of competition in the market space. There's a lot of medical places that have opened up over the years. And again, even though I haven't done a lot of IV drip just a few business plans with people for those, we're seeing it pop up. So it's kind of a very hot market. But at the same time, these companies don't have longevity, and I'm watching banks, and I think banks are a little nervous about them too. They're wondering if this is a fad or if it's something that's going to stick around. So I think that's definitely a challenge. Perception of what this is in the marketplace.
okay.
Because it's not a very expensive, like really capital. It's not like you need $2 million to start this. So the barrier to entry is low for a lot of people who are able to get into. Again, that's a worry because how many people are able to get into this with very little medical training? And I think that's kind of where the banks are thinking, and investors like how, so one of the things that sets a lot of people apart, if I were a lender, would be people coming with a lot of medical knowledge, medical background, maybe an RN, a doctor that's really interested in doing something like this. So
Okay.
I think that layers on those risk factors and creates these little barriers when it comes to lending and investing.
Okay, can you compensate for that by having those medical professionals work for the business? Like, they may not be owners, but
Might not be owners, but as long as you have a really good labor plan, and that's what we were saying earlier in the business plan, so there's a whole page on management and labor,
yes.
where you would address that and try and overcome those.
Okay. Um, can you share any success stories or lessons learned from other similar businesses?
Be able to adapt. I've got people, like again, IV bars, not that specific, but in the medical space, I've got lots of clients that are very successful, but they've adapted in other ways. They're doing things they didn't originally intend to, not in a bad way, just I mean, I've got one dentist. She was doing well with dentistry, but when she added Botox to her line of services, I mean, she might as well she can almost open a whole other clinic just doing Botox instead of dentistry.
Not bad.
So being able to adapt very quickly. So as you're building this thing, be thinking of what else could it be beyond IV.
I just to throw this out there.
You're not innovating. You're not growing.
Have you come across any concierge IV? Because a lot of things are concierge now; they'll come to you. What do you think of that?
So mobile IV bars?
Yes.
I mean, the overhead again. Here we go. Barrier to entry. The overhead is much lower. Who is your customer? Who are you trying to? This is your business. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you want to be mobile and you want that customer, great. I think it offers some privacy, but I think at the same time, some people want to get out. And if you're creating in my mind, I can show up with a van, go to your house, we do an IV, you're done. But if the business I'm trying to create is more of an experience than a IV,
okay.
I can create. Imagine coming into like this salon, spa looking place, super relaxing. You know, you get your IV drip, you have a masseuse on site, you add some other options where you can get head massage while you're there. Who knows? Like again, what's my customer? What am I trying to sell? What am I trying to do? It's more than just I've got a needle in an arm. I've got a whole wellness, feel good, relaxation thing happening.
Okay.
So I mean, again, who's my customer? I'm going to keep going back to that. Who's my customer? What am I trying to sell? The idea is just to sell as many IV fluid pints per month. Well, yeah, maybe the mobile thing is the way to go because it lessens your cost to start, and then all you have to do is keep just churning them out. So that's all that'll ever be.
Or could the mobile portion be just like an item that we provide? Like, we have the wellness center, but we will come to you. Would that be?
That gives you a whole other customer, like a product line extension. Gives you another customer to go after. It can happen. Not.
It can happen. Yes.
Everything goes down to when I look at every little bit decision, my question becomes, what's the cost to me to do this? So now I've got a van. I've got to wrap the van to make it match my marketing. I've got insurance for that van. I've got employees. Now I've got fleet insurance. Right? As you start tacking it on, then you start saying, well, what does just to add the van and add this service, what does it cost me? What does it cost me per month? And what do I have to do? How do my sales have to increase to do this one thing? So some would argue is you need to pick a lane. Like, are you mobile or are you gonna? Because if the product line extension, well, you haven't even started making your first sale yet. You would argue that you should open the business, start making sales, and as those sales grow, then you start adding those extra product lines. But focus on kind of like a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you got 5, 6 pages on a menu,
Yeah,
right? You got to stop and ask yourself, well, man, they better be really good at controlling costs. Otherwise, they're going to be wasting a lot of food if they have to keep all this in the freezer.
sure.
That's kind of the same thing. If you expand with too large of a menu, you increase your cost, and it's going to take you longer to break even.
Okay. These are sobering answers. Number 7 and our last one, sustainability and growth. How can I ensure the long-term sustainability and growth of my drip bar? And what are the best practices for customer satisfaction and retention?
Well, those are two different questions. Well, let's just all right. So sustainability and growth,
Okay.
innovate.
Innovate. True.
That's how businesses grow. Like, you don't just create one thing and sell one thing. You constantly innovate it, and you figure out if you might be selling the exact same thing, but figuring out different ways to sell it, and figure out different ways to monetize other things you have. Businesses that fail are the ones that just never change.
Yes.
Okay, so long-term sustainability, always thinking what's next. How can I change this in a way that I can continue to offer great services to my clients, but I'm constantly moving forward. Best practices for customer satisfaction and retention. I mean, that's a tough one because you don't really know who your customer is yet.
Yeah.
We really haven't identified that. But I mean, share some stories. I mean, what is the statistic, national statistic is that for a restaurant to consider a client a repeat customer, that customer needs to be someone like, I think 4 times, 5 times in a 6-month span, something like that.
Okay.
To be a true repeat customer. So the restaurants have things that they do constantly, like they identify, all right, this person's been here twice. What's something we can do to make them that 3rd time? What's something we can do to make them that fourth time? So a good restaurant front end manager would recognize people as they're coming in and start to say, all right, like they make a mission themselves in their mind. I need to turn this person to a repeat customer. What are things I can do? Sometimes that's just send them an extra appetizer. Find something on the menu, just send it off. I'd rather give away an appetizer than do a fucking coupon. Sometimes that kind of limits what you do. That's more restaurant based, but it's the mentality of that, like knowing, oh, I need this person to come back while they're here. What are things I can do? And a lot of that mentality is what's something I can add, or just sometimes it's just something as simple as just talking. And you've been to a place before where the chef comes out, right?
Yes.
How was your meal tonight? And you feel special. Sometimes just a little bit of communication can go a long way. But customer satisfaction, talk to them, listen. I love surveys. If they're willing to answer 1-2 question survey at the end of there, that's always helpful. Because now we're tracking data, tracking to see what they're doing or what they like. And that's another thing. Asking them, hey, part of that innovation, is there something we should do? Is there something we should add? And just get that feedback. Do what you can with it. But there's no perfect business startup. There's no perfect answer to any of this. What you're doing is art, not science. And you have to be able to move with it as it moves.
Okay. Well, we're at the end, and I want to thank you for your time and thank you for answering my questions. This question is not on my list, but I have, it came to mind at the very end because a lot of the answers you gave me were very sober. And I wanted to know, so the way this came about for me was, I know a MP and she was looking for an opportunity to start her own business. And she asked me to do the research. So this is what I found for her. Somewhere in the process, she got another job. She lost interest. But when we were told we had to do this proposal. Well, I'm already working on this anyway. How can I take this experience at the actual end product, which will be a proposal and or a business plan, and monetize it?
Well, I mean, you've written business plan before.
Mm-hmm.
Not understanding, the layout of them. I mean, the thing is, you're not monetizing a business plan.
Okay.
Like the business plan is not bringing you again. Well, at least when I define that as like monetize is like we've got it, we're open, now let's go do it. First
Okay.
things first, business plan. You need to be working on a business plan, and that business plan helps you get to what I call a go or no go decision. Is
Okay.
this something you have the dream right now, but until you can say I need X patients per day, per week, per month, mathematically to pay myself, pay the bank, pay all the bills, you don't go to the bank or you don't go to an investor and pitch that deal. So you're not at even an investor pitch yet.
Okay.
And again, you have to have it perfect. Business plan is never going to be perfect. So we're not saying your first couple versions of the business plan have to have the lease in place. You have to know where you're going to be. No, you can just say it's going to be Baton Rouge. This is the average leases in the area. This is the average insurance. You kind of figure all this stuff up, and then say, okay, mathematically, this is what I need to do to make it work. Okay. Once you kind of decided I'm going to take this to a bank, well, you adjust that business plan. You add some things like certain ratios that the bank would want to see, and you get the proposal ready, and you go to the bank, and
Okay.
you go from there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, how do you go from here to there? Get the business plan, get it tight, figure out exactly what your investment is going to be, or at least close to it. Some very good guesses. Because nothing drives a bank or investor crazy than people that show up and say, "Hey, I want $150,000." We're going to say, "For what?" Start an IV bar. Yeah, but for what? I need $30,000 for equipment. I need $25,000 for this piece of whatever. I need $10,000 monthly expenses. Here's a list of what our monthly budget is. If you have that information in hand and you can have those conversations, your credibility rises with banks and investors. And the people that typically fail are the ones that, well, I hate to say it this way, but they just chat GPT up a business plan and they use whatever numbers they got on Google that actually knowing their numbers they borrowed from someone else.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
If you know your stuff, because they're going to ask, investors are going to ask, the bank's going to ask, the underwriters are going to ask, what about this? What about that? And when people say, well, I'm not sure, the credibility starts to decrease. And the chance that getting a loan or investment starts to decrease.
Okay. That's good information. Okay, well, I'm ending my interview with Mr. Wayne Ricks, and I thank you again for taking the time to speak with me, and I'll let you know what I got as a grade on this project.
Okay.
Will do. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.